Just briefly, I want to share a few words about the battlefield situation in Ukraine, where the fighting is incredibly intense in the east, particularly in a city called Avdeyevka. It's a city that we've talked about several times before. Unfortunately, we're getting reports from the Ukrainians that the situation is critical, with the Russians continuing to press Ukrainian positions every single day. Avdeevka is at risk of falling into Russian control. In very large part, this is happening because the Ukrainian forces on the ground are running out of artillery ammunition. Russia is sending wave after wave of conscript forces to attack Ukrainian positions, and because Congress has yet to pass the supplemental bill, we've not been able to provide Ukraine with the artillery shells that they desperately need to disrupt these Russian assaults.
This is my video update on this Friday midday, February the 16th. Let's talk about some news, and let's talk about the big story, which is that Avdeyevka is collapsing or has collapsed. There are various analysts, many analysts, who are saying that Avdeyevka is not collapsing, it has collapsed. The Ukraine military is in retreat. The Russian military is moving forward, advancing on all fronts. And the situation in Avdeyevka looks very, very bad. Even John Kirby, he spoke to the media yesterday, and he said that Avdeyevka is indeed falling. And of course, as he was saying that Avdeyevka is falling, he once again called on Congress to get money to the Zelensky regime to approve the 61 billion, because 61 billion is going to prevent Avdeyevka from falling, right? Anyway, the situation is not good for the Ukraine military, and it is coming at the exact moment when Blinken and Kamala Harris, and rumor has it, even Zelensky, are going to be meeting in Munich for the big Munich Security Conference. Zelensky is rumored to be going. He's going to be meeting with Kamala and Blinken and all of the EU leaders. I imagine Schultz and Baerbock and Ursula and Borrell, and they're going to talk about money and weapons and defeating the Putin, right at the very moment when the fortress of Avdeyevka is being captured by the Russian military. And Reuters is actually saying that the Ukraine military is going to try to hold on to Avdeyevka for a little bit longer. They are retreating from Avdeyevka, but at the same time, according to Reuters, Syrskyi is going to be sending the Azov guys into Avdeyevka to try and hold on to it, I don't know, for a couple of more days, maybe to get them through the Munich Security Conference. Reuters is reporting Ukraine withdraws units from parts of Avdeyevka, sends in crack brigade. So yeah, they're going to try to send in the Azov guys to hold on to Avdeyevka so that Zelensky doesn't have to run around Munich and explain why this fortified city that was terrorizing Donetsk has been captured by the Russians, as he begs for money and weapons. But Slavyangrad, they posted some screenshots from a Washington Post article with the title, Ukraine on verge of losing Avdeyevka, strategic city long targeted by Russia. The ruined coke and chemical plant, once an economic pillar in Ukraine's eastern Donbas region, is likely to be the last Ukrainian stronghold in Avdeyevka, which has been embattled since 2014. Quite an admission there from the Washington Post. A good find from Slavyangrad. And remember what Putin told Tucker Carlson in his interview the other day, which is that Russia did not start this war. They are finishing a war that started in 2014. And this is Washington Post effectively saying as much. But yeah, Avdeyevka is collapsing. This is very, very big news. And the narrative from the collective West now is that Avdeyevka is collapsing because the House and Speaker Johnson, they were, and Trump, of course, you got to blame Trump. At the end of the day, it's always Trump's fault. They blocked the 61 billion to the Zelensky regime, and that is why Avdeyevka is collapsing. No 61 billion means no ammunition, and so the Russians are taking advantage of this failure from Speaker Johnson and Trump and the Republicans in the House, and that is how they are coping with the fall of Avdeyevka, which is nonsense, because Avdeyevka was going to fall whether the House approved 61 billion or 600 billion. This is just the reality of this conflict in Ukraine. Russia is going to win this conflict, whether it was Ukraine, proxy Ukraine, NATO, the US military, doesn't matter. 100 billion, 160 billion, 560 billion. This war was and will remain unwinnable for the collective West. They make it seem like this 61 billion would have made all the difference. Avdeyevka would not have been captured by the Russians if they had just approved the 61 billion. It's like they make it seem like there's all this ammo, like sitting in Poland, right? Millions and millions of shells in Poland, and there's just a couple of dudes there who are like waiting for the 61 billion to come in so they can release this ammo. And that's what they make it seem like, you know. There's all this ammunition right here, just boxes and boxes of ammo. There are these two guys there, and they're telling the Ukrainians, look, we can't give you all this ammo. We need you guys to pay. We need you guys to pay the 61 billion invoice. Pay the 61 billion invoice, and we'll get you your ammo. just nonsense, man. Absolute nonsense. But that's how they're going to spin this. 61 billion would have gotten us the ammunition we needed, and that would have gone to Avdeyevka, and then we would have prevented the collapse of Avdeyevka. Nonsense. It's delusional. It's delusional. That's what the Hill is saying. Delusional. The idea of total Ukrainian victory is delusional. This is coming from the Hill. And let me read you what the Hill is saying. In short, Russia is winning the war, and there is little to suggest that any foreseeable political, economic, tactical, or technological developments are likely to alter that fundamental reality. So why are we seeing arguments about an ultimate Ukrainian battlefield triumph in the face of all the devastatingly contradictory evidence? Well, applying Occam's razor, the principle that other things being equal, simpler explanations are generally better than more complex ones, I would suggest that the delusional belief that there's a pathway to total victory for Ukraine is based less on evolving military or geopolitical realities than on a simple psychological dynamic, one best summed up in the concept of commitment escalation. The escalation escalator. The Duran, right? That's our term. That's Alexander's term, isn't it? The escalation escalator. Well, the Hill is calling it the commitment escalation. I called it sunk cost, the sunk cost fallacy. According to this concept, individuals or groups sometimes exhibit a tendency to persist with a failing argument, even as that argument becomes increasingly untenable in light of the facts. This behavior is marked above all by an adherence to prior commitments, sunk costs, as the economists might put it. Regardless of their present plausibility or rationality, it is a psychological dysfunction. How long have we on the Duran, has Alexander and myself on the Duran been talking about the escalation escalator? How long now? A year and a half? How long have we been talking about the sunk cost fallacy, the sunk cost mentality of Project Ukraine. 6 months, a year. And yesterday, the Hill comes around to our way of thinking. Us, you, the comments, all of us, the entire community, we have been talking about this for 2 years. All of us have been talking about this for 2 years. And finally, yesterday, the Hill has come around to all of our analysis. What's the plural for analysis? To all of our analysis. Malaka. The collective West, man, they have all this money, all this resources, all these journalists and analysts and think tanks, and they're located in DC, and they're talking with senators and military generals and strategists. And it takes them 2 years to finally conclude that Ukraine winning is delusional, and the commitment to Project Ukraine is a sunk cost. It's a commitment escalation rooted in the sunk cost fallacy. They finally came to this conclusion. As long as Zelensky doesn't lose the coke plant, then everything's going to be okay for Zelensky. Take Avdeyevka. Just don't lose the coke plant. Podolyak, we must protect the coke plant. I read that the coke plant is about to be taken by the Russians very soon. I read that they're now on the southern parts of the coke plant, and I think the southern and the north part, and they're about to squeeze the circle around the coke plant. That's it. But Mr. President, it's not that type of coke plant. What do you mean, Podolyak, not this type of coke plant? I told you, we must protect coke plant. Sirsky, Azov into coke plant, protect coke plant. The coke plant is going to be lost, and that's going to be a terrible blow for Zelensky. He may not even make it to Munich. Why are you so sad, Volodymyr? That's what Kamala's going to ask Volodymyr. Volodymyr, why are you so sad? Volodymyr's going to be like, Kamala, we lost coke plant. I'm very, very sad. Let's see here. What else should we talk about? So yeah, that's going to be the cope. The cope is going to be that the Russians are winning because just couldn't get that 61 billion. So what's the latest plan then from the European Union? Well, the latest plan to defeat Russia is drones. Drones. Lots of drones. Drones everywhere. Millions of drones. That's how we're going to defeat the Putin. So the EU and the UK, the new defense minister of the UK, very sharp guy, very smart guy, Mr. Grant Shapps. He is working with the European Union, and they're putting together a coalition of drone manufacturers. And the UK and the EU, they are going to make 1 million drones, FPV drones, 1 million of them, to fight Russia. That's the plan going forward. An admission that they can't make artillery. It's an admission that they can't keep up with the Russians on artillery. And now they're pivoting to drones. They're going to make 1 million drones. The UK, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. Who else? I believe the Netherlands is in there, and Poland, and France, the UK. They're all going to combine their industrial power, their manufacturing might, the manufacturing might of the European Union, and they're going to make 1 million drones. That's the plan now. That is the plan. And Zelensky was talking about 1 million drones, and his plan was that Ukraine citizens were going to manufacture those drones. Remember that plan? The Ukraine military was going to pass out like a drone, a home drone assembly kit And Ukrainians, with their own money, Ukraine citizens would give their own money to buy these kits so that they can manufacture drones to fight the Russians. Whatever happened to that plan? Whatever happened to that plan? I don't know. But the new plan is that Europe, the EU and the UK are going to make these drones. It's not a very smart plan. Not a very smart plan at all. And then the European Union is going to tell us that they're not a party to this war, right? They're going to be manufacturing drones, not a million drones, say thousands of drones. They'll manufacture thousands of drones because I don't think the European Union or the UK has it in them to manufacture a million drones. But let's say they manufacture thousands of drones, and those thousands of drones end up hitting shopping centers, say in Belgorod or elsewhere in Moscow. Every now and then, a drone gets through, like what happened yesterday, where you had a missile strike at a shopping center in Belgorod. What are the Russians going to say when those drones are being manufactured in Latvia? What should the Russians say? What should the Russians do? I don't think the EU has really thought this one through. Or maybe they have. Maybe this is the US telling them to continue to provoke and escalate with Russia. Who knows? This could be part of the plan of the EU, the EU's new economic model, their new future economic model, which is based on weapons production. That's how the EU is going to get out of the recession that it finds itself in. And the EU is in a recession. Lagarde, she actually downgraded the EU's growth. And the UK is in a recession. The UK moved into a recession. That was announced yesterday or a couple of days ago. The Sunak government is in a world of hurt. In very, very bad shape, the Sunak government. But if you're in a recession, if you're the UK and you're in a recession, how do you get out of that recession? Give money to Ukraine. Manufacture drones. That's how you get out of a recession. But yeah, the EU, they are downgrading their economic outlook. The Financial Times is reporting that EU cuts growth and inflation forecasts for 2024. Eurozone GDP and output figures revised down, while inflation is expected to halve from last year's highs. So inflation is expected to get a little better. But the outlook for the EU economy, the EU as a whole, is not looking so good. I thought Ursula told us that the Russian economy is in tatters. Russia's economy is in tatters. Tatters. They are using washing machine chips to launch nuclear weapons into space. Isn't that what Ursula told us? Not the nukes in space parts, but she did tell us that they are using washing machine chips and that the Russian economy is in tatters. And now we have the Financial Times saying that the EU economy is in tatters. How could this be? But the plan, what I was saying before, the plan is to get out of this economic mess, is to make weapons, just make lots of weapons. That's how you are going to get out of this economic recession. The plan is weapons. Ursula von der Leyen calls on EU to subsidize defense production, according to the Financial Times. Brussels must fortify sector for a rougher world, Commission President warns. Brussels should incentivize Europe's defense industry to ramp up production and promote consolidation, the President of the European Commission has said, as she warned that the world has got rougher. Ursula von der Leyen said the Commission was developing its defense industry strategy, informed by the experience of using taxpayer cash to boost the production of Kufjabs and for joint purchases of gas. We have to spend more. We have to spend better. We have to spend European. von der Leyen said in an interview with the Financial Times on Thursday. Oh, God help us. God help the European Union, man. Oh, my God. We have to spend more. We have to spend better. We have to spend European. we learned how to consolidate and subsidize and create these slush funds. And we all made some pretty good money as well from our experience with the jabs and the purchases of gas. So now we're going to take that same philosophy, everything we've learned from those two experiences, and just carry it over to weapons production. Yeah, they're going to centralize everything, subsidize, spend, subsidize, and then centralize, consolidate everything into the power of the European Union. But spend, spend, spend. You got to spend. Spend more, spend better, spend European. I like that. This actually has a nice ring to it. Spend more, spend better, spend European. Russia's economy is in tatters. Tatters, I tell you. The Wall Street Journal has an article with the title, Europe is boosting military spending. It's still not enough. It's still not enough. European NATO members under attack from Trump. They're under attack from Trump now, say they must spend more efficiently and rebuild their arms industries. Trump is attacking them. We are under attack from the Trump. The Trump is attacking us. The Don is attacking us. Spend more on weapons. Spend better. Spend European. Spend more. Spend better. Spend European. We have to fight off the Putin. We have to fight off the Don. We're under attack. It's still not enough, says the Wall Street Journal. It's still not enough. We must produce 1 million drones, 2 million drones, 5 million drones. That'll save Europe. 5 million drones. Boy. Oh, what else? Yeah, Stoltenberg, he's saying that Ukraine's war effort already affected by block on 60 billion US aid, says NATO chief. Stoltenberg believes Congress will finally vote for a package, but meanwhile, Russian forces are advancing near Avdeyevka. That's right, if they could only get the 60 billion to the Zelensky regime, that would have saved Avdeyevka. The Washington Post, they have an article, Europe is panicking about Ukraine aid. Biden's team should tell the truth. This is a great article. It's an opinion piece, but this article is basically saying that everyone's going to be going to the Munich Security Conference, and Europe, they just can't trust the United States anymore because the U.S. is abandoning Europe with regards to Ukraine. They can't get the 60 billion. Europe's given 50 billion, but the U.S. is not given their 60 billion. They haven't kept up with their end of the bargain to protect Ukraine, to stand up for Ukraine for as long as it takes, to support Ukraine for as long as it takes. And Europe is starting to lose trust and confidence, belief in the United States. And this Washington Post article is basically saying that the U.S., as Kamala Harris and Blinken, as they go to Munich, they should just be truthful with the Europeans and say, you know what? We may not be able to support Ukraine for as long as it takes, and if Trump becomes president, then you shouldn't depend on us, and they should just give it to the Europeans straight, is what this article is saying. Just break it to the Europeans that there is a possibility that Trump may win, and that the 61 billion may not be approved for Project Ukraine. So that the Europeans, being responsible adults, the article says the Europeans being very responsible, very rational, very prudent, Ursula and Borrell, that they can then plan, their next moves. As long as the U.S. is honest. What's needed now is honesty. You really need to be honest. Sincere, honest. Tell the Europeans the truth, America. Tell them the truth. They deserve the truth. They want the truth. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Yeah, they need to be honest with the Europeans. Blinken, you need to sit down with Ursula and just sit her down and say, Ursula, I need to be honest with you. I just don't know if as long as it takes means anything anymore. I just don't know if we'll be able to do it as long as it takes. If Trump wins, this thing that we've got, Ursula, is over. It's just over. Yeah, that's what this Washington Post article is saying. But don't blame Biden for any of this. That's what the Washington Post wants everybody to know. The sad state of affairs is not primarily the Biden administration's fault. But rather than pretend everything will be fine, the Biden team ought to be more honest with its allies. The Ukraine aid is not coming soon. It might not come at all. Trump might win. He might pull the United States out of NATO. Trump is not going to pull the United States out of NATO. He's not going to do that. He may bust some NATO balls, but he's not going to pull the United States out of NATO anyway. The sad state of affairs is not primarily the Biden administration's fault. No, this whole thing is the Biden administration's fault. The whole thing, the entire freaking thing is the Biden administration's fault. All of it. All of it. Yeah, Obama, Vice President Biden, Newland, you can go back. You can go even all the way back to 2003, 2004. But this conflict had multiple points where it could have been avoided. Could have been avoided in December of 2021. It could have been avoided at the Munich Security Council in 2022. It could have been avoided. Zelensky, shut up. Stop talking about getting nuclear weapons. That's all that had to be said. Zelensky, shut your mouth about Ukraine getting nuclear weapons. It could have been stopped in March of 2022 by not sending Boris Johnson to Kiev. There were multiple points during this entire conflict where this could have been prevented by the Biden administration. So yeah, that's the Washington Post. Don't blame any of this on Biden. This is not Biden's fault. Biden, it's not his fault. All right, so let's do some more stories and we will wrap this video up. Let's see here. Oh, the sanctions, the EU sanctions package. It's been blocked by Hungary. Orban is at it again. Yeah, Orban said, look, we're in a recession now. Pretty much the European Union is in a recession. Why do you guys want to sanction China and India or companies? Why do you guys want to sanction companies in China and India? That doesn't make any sense. That's what Orban told the EU. Every other leader in every EU country approved the 13th sanctions package. This is how crazy this is. Every freaking leader, knowing that they're going to be sanctioning China and India, companies in China and India. Why Greece? Why do you want to sanction companies in China and India? Why? The only country that said this is not a good idea is Hungary. That's it. Everyone else was like, recession? Losing the conflict in Ukraine? European Union falling apart? Sanction China and India, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, man. So, Orban, he does have some trouble. He does have some trouble. There's going to be protests, I think, today in Hungary. And then Orban's going to speak over the weekend. But this stems from this orphanage scandal. I'm not going to get into the details of it. But this scandal, something doesn't feel right with the timing of all of this. The president of Hungary had to resign. I believe one of Orban's top party members, and I think a top party official, as well as either the Minister of Justice or something. They had to resign as well from this orphanage scandal. Basically, what happened very, very, very quickly is that there was a pardon approved by the president and this justice minister for a director of an orphanage. And this guy was serving a prison sentence, or was going to serve a prison sentence. This guy that was a director of the orphanage, because he covered up for someone working at that orphanage that was abusing children. Something like that was going on, and this director got a pardon. And this came out just like a week or two ago, and it was the president that gave the pardon, and she's seen as like a mother figure for Hungary, like family values and stuff like that. And then it came out that she pardoned the director who covered up for one of the orphanage's employees who was abusing children. And anyway, this is a big scandal in Hungary. But I don't understand, why did the president pardon this director of this orphanage? I don't understand why they pardoned this guy. But this affects Orban's party. It affects his government, and people are upset. And the EU and the opposition, they are jumping on this, and they're trying to get the protests going, and they're trying to sink Orban's administration. This is a tough one for Orban, because Orban has built his party as the party of traditional values and family and stuff like that. So we'll see what's going on. But something about this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. It feels a little bit off. But we'll see what'll happen. Anyway, how are we doing on time here? Okay, I got to wrap this one up. Let's see. Poland reparations against Germany are going to be dropped. Tusk told Schultz that the Law and Justice, when they were asking for 1.4 trillion in reparations from World War II, Tusk told Schultz, forget about that. We're not going to pursue reparations. And then you had Sikorsky, the foreign minister, the guy that put out the tweet saying, thank you, USA, after Nord Stream was blown up. That guy's now the foreign minister of Poland. Good choice there. Thank you, USA, for blowing up Nord Stream. That was his tweet. Anyway, he said that Poland should pursue, or he doesn't understand why Poland has not pursued reparations against Russia for World War II. Just nonsense. Stupidity from Sikorsky. George Soros is buying 220 radio stations in 45 states. He is buying a company that filed for bankruptcy called ODYSEE, AUDACY. ODYSEE was bankrupt, and Soros is now buying it. An inside source cited by the New York Post described the ODYSEE deal as scary, saying he believed that Soros intended to use his stake to influence public opinion ahead of this year's presidential election. Of course, that's what this is all about. So from what I understand, this was the second biggest company that had radio stations, that owned these radio stations, the second largest, and it was in financial trouble. So Soros came in, he bought them, and 45 states, 220 stations, and of course he's going to use this purchase of his to influence the 2024 debate discussion. Absolutely. That's what Soros is not hiding any of this. I mean, he hasn't hidden his agenda at all. I mean, to be fair to Soros, he has said that he wants to destroy Trump. He wants to prevent Trump from becoming president. He said that is his number one priority. Soros and his son have said that their number one priority is to stop Trump. So a clown world here. Let's do some clown world. So Podolyak, Zelensky's BFF and his number one advisor and spokesman, he has admitted that his brother lives in Russia. His brother lives in Russia. Sirsky's family lives in Russia. The Ukraine military commander, his family lives in Russia, and they're super pro Putin as well. But Podolyak has also had to admit that he has family in Russia as well. He said people can't be held responsible for their family members. You can't pick your family. Can't pick your neighbors, can't pick your family, huh? is that what you're going with, Podolyak? Anyway, I thought that was interesting. And Kuleba, the foreign minister of Ukraine, he proposed renaming Avdeyevka to Prague. Quote, the occupation of Ukrainian territory is one thing, the seizure of Prague is another. This will bring into effect Article 5 of the NATO Charter. Member states of the alliance will be obliged to go to war with Russia. Personally, I find the solution very elegant, said Dmitry Kuleba. He finds this solution very elegant. Yeah, let's just name Avdeyevka Prague. And if we name Avdeyevka Prague, then it falls under Article 5 protection, and then NATO has to go to war with Russia. This is a very elegant solution. This is coming from the top diplomat in Ukraine, just so we have an understanding of the bozos that are running these countries, that are in top positions of these countries, how they think. They think like children. I mean, this is the thinking of a child. Let's rename Avdeyevka Prague, and then we'll get Article 5 in World War III, and that's an elegant solution. These people are children, man. They are children. And this is the foreign minister of Ukraine. Okay, Speaker Johnson, send 61 billion to this bozo. Go ahead, send 61 billion to this guy, the top diplomat of all of Ukraine. This guy's hanging out with Baerbock and Blinken. He's eating at McDonald's with Blinken. Remember that? When Blinken was in Kiev and they ate at McDonald's? So Mr. Kalua, I call him Kalua. Mr. Kalua, how should we deal with Avdeyevka? Maybe we change the name to Prague. It's good thinking. It's really good thinking. Article 5. Let's go. Oh boy. Do I have time for one more? Nah, I don't think I really have time for one more here. Okay, Cameron. Cameron is afraid now to talk about the 61 billion for Ukraine after Marjorie Taylor Greene told Cameron, Lord Cameron, by the way, to kiss my butt. Kiss my ass is what Marjorie Taylor Greene said to Cameron, because Cameron was talking Neville Chamberlain and the Mustache Man and all of that nonsense. Anyway, she was like, yeah, if you don't vote for 61 billion for Ukraine, then you're Mustache Man and you're Stalin and you're Chamberlain and you're, I don't even know anymore. You're all of these people all rolled into one. And Marjorie Taylor Greene was asked about this statement, and she was like, Cameron. She said Mr. Cameron, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's Lord Cameron. She said, he can kiss my ass, which is the right response from Marjorie Taylor Greene. But next time anyone in the U.S. in Congress is asked about Lord Cameron, if they're asked about any of the statements from Lord Cameron, they should just ask him about Libya. How did it go in Libya, Lord Cameron? You fix Libya and then allow us to fix Ukraine. Got a deal? Anyway, that's the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop, 15% off all t-shirts. Take care.